You're looking for a machine that lets you actually finish a project without spending a weekend fighting quirks, that will sit on your garage bench without demanding a dedicated power plant, and that won't feel like a gamble after you've already shelved a decent chunk of cash. Those are the practical things that keep most hobbycrafters up at night when they're scrolling through endless listings of CNC routers. The big question is whether the 2.2kw USB 4 Axis CNC 6090 router kit can give you that peace of mind, or if you'll end up with a pricey paperweight. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the kind of work you'd actually throw this machine at. The 6090 frame is big enough to handle a standard 48 sheet of plywood, which means you can carve a sign, cut a panel for a cabinet, or even mill a small batch of metal parts for a prototype. It's not a desktop hobby router that fits on a kitchen table, it's a garage-size unit that expects to sit on a sturdy workbench or a purpose-built stand. If your goal is to produce a few dozen decorative wood pieces or prototype some aluminum brackets once a month, the size lines up nicely. If you were hoping to tuck it into a closet and run it on a 110V outlet for daily production, you'll hit a wall fast. The heart of the kit is a 2.2 kilowatts copper wire spindle that can spin up to 24,000 revolutions per minute, and it's water-cooled. In practice, that means you'll have the torque you need to cut hardwood and soft metals without the motor overheating after a half-hour run. I've seen makers who try cheaper air-cooled spindles lose power after a few cuts and have to shut down for cooling. This one's water loop keeps temperature steady, so you can run longer passes on a piece of maple without watching the thermal gauge like a hawk. Control-wise, the machine comes with a Mach 3 CNC controller that runs on your PC. The software side is where many beginners stumble, but the kit includes a fairly straightforward USB connection and a pre-configured profile for the 6090 dimensions. You'll still have to spend a few minutes mapping the axis limits and setting the correct stepsperm, but once that's done, you'll be able to load a code file and watch the router follow the path. The linear guide rails and ball screws give you the kind of repeatability that makes a 0.1 mm deviation feel negligible when you're engraving a logo on a wooden plaque. In everyday use, that translates to clean corners and consistent depths, which is exactly what you need when you're making a batch of signage for a local business. Now, the strengths. The aluminum alloy frame is solid. You can hear the difference when the spindle ramps up compared to a flimsy plastic chassis. The frame does a good job of dampening vibration, so you won't end up with ghosting marks on a fine engraving. The emergency stop button on the control box is a practical safety feature. It's positioned where you can hit it without looking away from the workpiece, which matters if you're cutting a piece of aluminum that suddenly throws a chip your way. The water cooling system is integrated, with a small reservoir and pump that you fill once and forget about until you notice the coolant level dropping after several hours of heavy use. On the flip side, there are a few hidden trade-offs. First, the machine needs a dedicated 220V circuit to run the spindle at full power. If you're in a typical US garage with only 110V outlets, you'll need to hire an electrician to install a suitable outlet, which adds cost and complexity. Second, the water cooling loop, while effective, is an extra maintenance point. You'll have to change the coolant periodically and check for leaks. A tiny leak won't ruin the whole machine, but it can drip onto the workbench and cause a short if you're not careful. Third, the kit is a do-it-yourself package. The frame comes bolted together, but you'll still need to align the rails, tighten the ball screws, and route the wiring for the limit switches. For someone who has never assembled a CNC, that can be a steep learning curve and may require watching a handful of YouTube tutorials before you feel confident. Who should buy this? If you already have a decent workbench, a 220V source, and a willingness to spend a few evenings getting the machine calibrated, this kit offers a solid entry point into 4-axis CNC work without the premium price tag of industrial-grade systems. It's a good fit for woodworkers who want to add engraving and 3D carving to their repertoire, for hobbyists who need to prototype metal parts in small runs, and for small shop owners looking to offer custom CNC services without renting a commercial space. It also appeals to educators who want a hands-on CNC system that can demonstrate both 3-axis and 4-axis concepts in a classroom setting. Who should skip it? If you're after a plug-and-play solution that just works,